Meanwhile, the governor of New Jersey is in the Gulf this week on a high-level mission to deepen ties with the region, pushing for partnerships in everything from AI and fintech to food, pharma and advanced manufacturing. Well, I'm very pleased to say that Phil Murphy is here. He is the governor of New Jersey, joining me live right here in our studios in Dubai. Governor, first let me say thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the Gulf and welcome to the UAE, sir.
Thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me. We're in the midst of a really successful, productive economic mission.
I'm really excited to talk about the economic mission, but I wanted to start on news of the day. As you just heard there, President Trump essentially ousting Mike Waltz. He's moving over to the UN. Do you welcome that decision?
Too early to tell, honestly. Mike Waltz has a very good reputation. I'm a former U.S. ambassador, in my case, to Germany, so in my old life, the national security position would have been existentially important. He's a good man. The UN representation is a big seat. This isn't the first time in American history that a Secretary of State has been multi-hatted. Henry Kissinger did it quite famously for a period of years. But given how challenging the world is these days, you want to make sure you have your best people at the point of attack. I wish Messrs. Waltz and Rubio nothing but the very best.
And of course, national security is an issue that impacts all Americans. In the aftermath of the Signal group chat fiasco, do more heads need to roll?
That's above my pay grade. I'm focused on New Jersey and the four walls of New Jersey. Again, I think these are two talented individuals. We need right now adult leadership on the global scale, given how kinetic the world is, including in this region. And again, I wish them both the very best.
So let's talk about what's happening in this region and all of the work that you've been doing over the last couple of days on this really important trade mission. You're essentially pitching New Jersey to Gulf investors and the Gulf to New Jersey. What's been the reaction so far?
Really good. So we've been in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Kingdom of Bahrain, and now for the past several days here in the UAE. New Jersey sells really well globally. We're diverse, we're well located, we're well connected. We already have a lot of international bones, if you will, in our DNA. And out here, whether it's capital, whether it's job creation, whether it is memorandum of understanding with institutions of higher education, we're connecting, particularly in the innovation economy, which is our strong suit.
Let me ask you about some of these deals that you've been working on as well. You've signed MOUs on gaming, education, youth exchanges. There's a whole bunch of things happening here, but what's the actual dollar figure that you're expecting from this mission? Can you quantify it?
I can't quantify it per se, but we'll be, for instance, HotPack is a company located here with a big presence in New Jersey. They're going to make a big announcement that'll be measured in jobs and economic impact. But the big projects we've got in New Jersey right now, infrastructure, you mentioned generative AI, data centers, and the like, those are measured in billions. In fact, double-digit billions, even just in New Jersey. And we've had really productive discussions with a whole range of investors out here. So it's too early to put a price tag on it, but I'll be pretty darn surprised if this doesn't result in some big-ticket investments.
I wanted to ask you about the gaming MOU in particular as well. Obviously, a key area of interest here in the Gulf. You've doubled gaming revenues in the state of New Jersey throughout the course of your administration. So what will that partnership and those synergies look like, particularly in this space, an investable space of key interest for CNBC
viewers?
You
rightfully point out that New Jersey is a big player in gaming. Most recently, over the past number of years in sports betting, we're the king of the hill in that respect. We also have a lot of the guts of the industry, the jobs. So that memorandum of understanding with the UAE is a classic example of sharing best practices. Kevin Mullally and his team have really gotten from a standing start up and running really impressively here in the UAE. I'm very optimistic. We wear our gaming oversight as a badge of honor. It's actually a magnet to attract more participants in the industry, and it was a significant reason why Kevin and his team wanted to do that memorandum with New Jersey.
Indeed. Gaming in this part of the world, though, at least, or gambling, as others would call it, is not cultural, it's not legal either. So what is the real synergy here when we haven't seen this industry really coming into its own in this part of the world?
It's clearly nascent here, but it will come together and it will grow. And I think it's a classic between New Jersey, which has had legal gambling since 1978, and quite successfully. I might add, virtually across the board scandal-free, and that's something that we will also wear as a badge of honor. I think we can impart a lot of wisdom based on our experience, and as I mentioned, Kevin and his team are really impressive. I would be very optimistic for that sector here in the UAE.
Let me ask you about the national priority here as well, because you're a blue state governor in what is an increasingly red state, America. President Trump is just a couple of weeks out from his visit to this part of the world. And I also think it's fair to say the president has very close personal ties in this part of the world. So how is that shaping your long-term approach to deal making and engagement here? And do you see that as a barrier of sorts, given how powerful the president is here and also anecdotally how well received he is in this part of the world?
Listen, first and foremost, I'm an American. I may not agree with everything the president does or believes in, but I'm an American, and that's number one. And most importantly, I think the fact he's coming here is a really good thing. It's good for America. It's good for the region. There's a lot of volatility right now in the world. I have to say it's not, in my opinion, because of some of the principles that the president has pursued. More manufacturing in the U.S., more efficient government, peace is better than war. Who could argue with any of those? Sign me up for all three. It's the execution of those principles that I think has been the challenge. I think it's getting to a more stable, calmer period. I hope that's the case, but I think the president's visit here is a big deal both for us and for the UAE.
And Governor, the reason I ask the question is because not every Democrat has welcomed the president's embrace of the Gulf. So what's the message to your party as we look past the Biden era, which of course had a pretty complicated relationship with this part of the world?
Yeah, listen, I think President Biden's economy was a high point in his four-year presidency, period. That doesn't mean you can have and both. That doesn't mean that the president's visit here, President Trump's visit here, isn't significant. And by the way, I'm all in New Jersey for more jobs and more investment. The president wants that for the country. Again, it's the execution of some of this that I think needs to be sharpened up, more strategic. I'm confident we'll get there. And again, I think a presidential visit brings a whole lot of stuff with it, usually a lot of good stuff. And so I'm hoping that that's the case here and that New Jersey gets its fair share.
Indeed. And Governor, you also met with the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet in Bahrain as well. Obviously a very important meeting. The base in Bahrain, absolutely critical to U.S. interests in this region. Are we going to see some kind of defense deal being signed between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, or the U.S. and the region moving forward? And just to wrap up here, what is the focus of engagement and the terms of engagement moving forward?
Yeah, as a governor, I'm not involved in foreign policy as I once was as an ambassador. But Bahrain is the host country, in this case, to our Fifth Fleet, one of the most strategically important locations for our military in the world. And only a governor of New Jersey could give the admiral in charge a guitar signed by John Bon Jovi, which is exactly what we did.